week 19 already of the fantasy baseball season, and these are last couple crucial weeks here before the playoffs start in head-to-head leagues. So here's a few pitchers I would look to pick up this week on the waiver wire. The first guy is Tywin Gilbert of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So right now, Tywin Gilbert, talk of the town here for the Diamondbacks and around Major League Baseball. In his first career start a couple nights ago, he threw a no-hitter versus a great San Diego Padre team. And right here, he was a guy, he probably thought he was going to pitch 4 or 5 innings in that ball game, but he went the distance and he threw the no-hitter versus the Padres here. So Gilbert on the season was a reliever the first 3 or 4 outings that he appeared in, and then he started that game as a spot starter. And right now, the only thing with him is they don't know if he's going to stay in the rotation, but come on, Arizona. You're one of the worst teams in the league this season, and at least this kid, he brought some excitement to this team the other day with a no-hitter. So on the season, 12 2/3, 1-1 record, 2 hits given up, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts, no ERA total, so he hasn't given up a run at all in those 3 relief outings, an 0.55 whip, and a quality start. So Gilbert here, he don't throw the ball hard. He's a guy, though, he has a pretty nice cutter that definitely fooled the San Diego Padres. He was getting in on the hands, and then he would work the outside corner with the changeup, and that's how he got to the no-hitter. They hit a few hard balls off of him, but obviously, when you throw a no-hitter, the defense has to make some great plays. You go your way, where they hang up there, and they could be caught, and that was exactly what happened. So the first few outings for him, August 3rd versus San Francisco, a clean 1 inning with 2 strikeouts. August 5th in a relief outing versus San Francisco, 2/3 of an inning, got the loss, a hit, a walk, and a K, and a 3 whip. August 7th at San Diego, 2 innings, only a hit given up, a walk, and 2 Ks. And then versus San Diego, the no-hitter, obviously, 3 walks, 5 Ks, and 0.33 whip in that one. So right here, I'm surprised he's only been added in 10% of fantasy leagues over the last few days. Here's Gilbert. And right now, he should be in the rotation the rest of the season, in my opinion. It would just not make no sense to me if Arizona don't give this kid a chance, especially if he threw a no-hitter and looked pretty decent as well. So Tywin Gilbert, I definitely will give an ad this week. The next pitcher I'd look to give an ad this week's Vladimir Guerrero of the Cincinnati Reds. I might sound like a broken record talking about him each and every week, but people, they're still not going out there and getting him. He's still available in 62% of fantasy leagues, and he's been one of the best pitchers in fantasy baseball over the last few weeks here. Is Gutierrez on the season, 79 2/3, 8-3 record, 73 hits, 35 runs given up, 13 homers, 33 walks, 58 strikeouts, a 3.95 ERA, and a 1.33 whip with 9 quality starts in the time. In the last couple weeks here for Gutierrez, 12 innings, 2-0 record, 11 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 12 Ks, a 1.50 ERA, and a 1.17 whip with 2 quality starts. So right here, I don't know what else he has to do to prove to fantasy owners he's worthy of a roster spot. Gutierrez, in my opinion, he should be owned in at least 60% of fantasy leagues or more, because he's getting outs, he's going deep into games. And this Cincinnati Red team, let's be real, they're definitely in the hunt here to try to take the Central possibly, or maybe sneak in as a wild card team, which obviously is going to be tough with the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants, the 3 best teams this season in the National League. So the last few games here for Gutierrez, August 1st at the Mets, 7 innings, got the win, 3 hits, 1 run, a homer, 2 walks, 4 Ks, a 1.29 ERA, 0.71 whip, and a quality start. August 7th versus the Pirates, 6 innings, got the win, 6 hits, 1 run given up, a walk, 6 Ks, a 1.5 ERA, and a 1.17 whip with a quality start. And August 12th at the Braves, 6 innings, got the win, 5 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 6 Ks, a 1.50 ERA, and a 1.17 whip. So Gutierrez, 6 out of his last 7 starts, he's had a quality start. And he's one of the better pitchers on the Cincinnati pitching staff this season. And he's got another nice matchup coming up tomorrow versus the Chicago Cubs. So Gutierrez, hey, I wish he was still available in some of my leagues, but he's not at all. So owners should go out there and definitely get him, because this guy's been a great pitcher over the last month. The next pitcher is Huascar Yona of the Atlanta Braves. So the Braves, they might be getting some reinforcements coming back to the starting rotation in the next few days or weeks here. Yona, he's probably going to start tomorrow's ball game. Reports are coming out. And Ian Anderson as well, he's been in some rehab assignments. He might come back. So right now, Yona, he's available right now in 49% of fantasy leagues. And fantasy owners, they should jump on it right now and go out there and get him. He's got a nice matchup versus Miami. He's had a couple rehab starts, so he should be stretched out and at least pitch 88 pitches, in my opinion. And on the season before he went down, 44 and 2/3, 4-2 record, 36 hits, 15 runs, 7 homers, 11 walks, 50 Ks, a 3.02 ERA, and a 1.05 whip before quality starts. So Yona, he's coming back. The Braves, they're in first place right now. And even with the Acuna injury, this team, they've stayed above water here and have a pretty decent lead with a few games up in the National League East, even though I think it'll be a dogfight till the end here. But all these teams have been struggling at one point between the Mets, Phillies, and Braves. But right now, the Braves, like I mentioned, Yona could definitely help them. And he's got a good matchup in tomorrow's ball game at Miami. So if he's out there on your Warrior, this guy's got great upside and a pitcher who definitely can help your fantasy team this week and the next few weeks before the season's over. The next pitcher is Griffin Jackson of the Minnesota Twins. So Jackson, he's been pretty impressive in the first few starts of his career. And he's another pitcher here. He's available in 91% of fantasy leagues here is Griffin Jackson. On the season, it's small sample size though, 38 innings, 3-1 record, 33 hits, 23 runs, 10 homers given up, which has been an Achilles heel for him, 13 walks, 32 strikeouts, 5.45 ERA, and a 1.21 whip with a quality start. But the last couple weeks for him, he's starting to get into a rhythm, 11 1/3, 2-0 record, 8 hits, 4 runs, 3 homers, 2 walks, 10 Ks, a 3.18 ERA, 0.88 whip and a quality start. So the only thing here with Jax, he's only been a 5 1/3 pitcher right now for this Minnesota Twin team. And we know this Twin team isn't good, but this guy's definitely got upside. We've seen it in his last ball game, especially versus a good Chicago White Sox team where he could strike out batters, he could hit the strike zone, and he could get outs. And right now, I think there's worse options on fantasy teams than Griffin Jackson. His next outing for Jax as well is today versus the Cleveland Indians, which I think is pretty favorable matchup. This Indian team, they've been struggling of late as well. So the last couple outings here for Jax, August 5th to Houston, 5 1/3, got the win, 3 hits, 1 run, a homer, a walk in that one, a 1.69 ERA and a 0.75 whip. And then August 10th at versus the White Sox, 6 innings, got the win, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 homers, a walk, 10 Ks, a 4.5 ERA, and a 1.50 whip with a quality start. So right here, Jax, we know he's got upside, and I think he could have another good outing here today versus Cleveland. So right now, some fantasy owners, if you need some starting pitching, it's time to get Jax before he starts in tonight's ball game versus Cleveland, and hopefully he pays big dividends. I think he should in this matchup pitch a decent ball game. The next pitcher I looked at on waivers this week's Alicia Hernandez of the Miami Marlins. So Hernandez, he's been out most of the season here for the Marlins, but he finally pitched in yesterday's ball game. Was Hernandez 5 1/3, he won in that one in a no decision versus the Cubs. So right here, Hernandez, he's only available in 49% of fantasy leagues. On the season, only 12 2/3, like I mentioned. He hasn't pitched much. No record, 9 hits, 4 runs, 3 homers, a walk, 13 Ks, a 2.84 ERA, and a 0.79 whip here for Hernandez. So many fantasy owners, they waited months on end or they jumped to the waiver wire and got Hernandez immediately because he's been added already in the first few days back here in 8% of fantasy leagues. So yesterday in his outing versus the Cubs, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run, a homer, a walk, 4 Ks, a 1.69 ERA, and a 0.94 whip. So right here, people, they really liked Hernandez and they were high on him, even on this Miami Marlin team. But this Marlin team, I know they're in last place in the NL East, but they got some pretty good starting pitching, in my opinion. Sandro Contra, Rogers has been pretty good. Thompson, he's been up and down, but he's still finding his way as a rookie, and now Alicia Hernandez back in the rotation. I think he's got decent upside, even though this Marlin team don't score runs, but he could still be a quality starter for fantasy owners, and he's definitely worth an ad this week. The next pitcher is Madison Bumgardner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, so the second Diamondback pitcher on the list this week. And Bumgardner, he's available in 50% of fantasy leagues, but he's been pretty decent, Bumgardner, this season, especially compared to other seasons where he really struggled. 98 and a third, 6-7 record, 91 hits, 47 runs, 14 homers, 22 walks, 88 strikeouts, a 4.30 ERA, and a 1.15 WHIP with 8 quality starts on the season. And the last couple weeks for him, 20 and 2/3, 1-1 record, 21 hits, 5 runs, 3 homers, 2 walks, 15 Ks, a 2.18 ERA, and a 1.11 WHIP with 3 quality starts in this time. So Bumgarner, I know he's on a bad team in Arizona. I know they're in a tough division with the Giants, Dodgers, and Padres, who are obviously big hitting teams in that division here. But Bumgarner, he's gone out there, and at least this season, he's been a pretty good starting pitcher and a serviceable one here for the Diamondbacks and fantasy owners, even though obviously he hasn't lived up to the big contract he got since he's been in Arizona. So the last 3 outings here for Bumgarner: August 3rd versus the Giants, 7 innings, got the win, 6 hits, a run, a homer, a walk, 4 Ks, a 1.29 ERA, a 1 WHIP, and a quality start. August 8th at San Diego, 7 innings, tough loss, 6 hits, 2 runs, a walk, a homer, 5 Ks, a 2.57 ERA, a 1 WHIP, and a quality start. And August 13th versus San Diego, 6 2/3, 9 hits, 2 runs, a homer, 6 Ks, a 2.70 ERA, and a 1.35 WHIP with a quality start. So right here, Bumgarner, he's pitched well 5 out of 6 outings now. He's got a quality start under his belt, and that's good numbers here for the veteran, especially in a tough division like I mentioned. And I'm surprised he's not owned in more fantasy leagues than 50%. So right now, I would definitely go out there and get Bumgarner if he's available in your leagues. The next pitcher is Tristan Mackenzie of the Cleveland Indians. So this guy's Jekyll and Hyde throughout his short career so far as Mackenzie. And yesterday, he almost had a perfect ball game until it got broken up with Mackenzie. 7 1/3, he went in that ball game with perfection versus the Detroit Tigers. And right here on the season for Mackenzie, 84 1/3, 2-5 record, 56 hits, 48 runs, 16 homers, 46 walks, 99 strikeouts, which is a nice number in the 84 innings. A 5.12 ERA, 1.21 WHIP, and 5 quality starts here for Mackenzie. In the last couple weeks, though, 21 innings, 1 record, 10 hits, 5 runs, 2 homers, a walk, 20 Ks, a 2.14 ERA, and an 0.52 WHIP with 3 quality starts. So he's really pitched great baseball over the last 3 outings here as Mackenzie. And this is what Cleveland wants to see, and this is what fantasy owners want to see. I was big on Mackenzie as a sleeper pitcher coming into the season, and he just hasn't been good until recently here after a few stints in the minor leagues this season. So the last few outings for him: August 5th at Toronto, 7 innings, got the loss, 5 hits, 3 runs, a homer, giving up 4 Ks, a 3.86 ERA, 0.71 WHIP, and a quality start. August 10th versus Oakland, 6 innings, no decision, 4 hits, 2 runs, a homer, a walk, 5 Ks, a 3 ERA, 0.83 WHIP, and a quality start. And then, like I mentioned yesterday at Detroit, 8 innings, got the win, 1 hit, no runs, 11 Ks, 0.13 WHIP, and a quality start. So Mackenzie, the problem with him was he was walking a lot of batters early in the season, but now he's definitely controlled that with only 4 walks in his last 4 outings. So those are good numbers. And he's a guy next season I'm really looking forward to seeing what he could do. But right now, he definitely can help fantasy teams as well. And he's available in 54% of fantasy leagues. The next pitcher I'll look to add on waivers this week is Lawlor of the Milwaukee Brewers. So Lawlor, he's been an underrated pitcher this season here for the Brewers. I know he don't really go deep into games, but he's also a guy that don't give up many runs as well. On the season, 73 1/3, 4-4 record, 63 hits, 28 earned runs, 11 homers, 26 walks, 73 strikeouts, a 3.44 ERA, a 1.21 WHIP, and 5 quality starts. and the last couple weeks for him since he returned from the COVID list. 9 innings, 1-0 record, 6 hits, 1 run, 9 Ks, a 1 ERA, 0.67 whip in the time here. So Lawlor, we know he's a 4 or 5 inning pitcher at best. But hey, if you just need a guy that could go out there, especially in points leagues, and get you a couple points here and there, not really hurt you at all, I think he's a decent add as Lawlor, and he's available in 76% of fantasy leagues. So the last few outings for him: July 28th at Pittsburgh, 3 innings, 2 hits, a run, a homer, 2 walks, 4 Ks, a 3 ERA, a 1.33 whip. Then August 2nd versus the Pirates, 5 innings, got the win, 3 hits, no runs, 3 Ks, 0.60 whip. And then yesterday, once again versus the Pirates, in his return from the COVID list, 4 innings, no decision, 3 hits, 1 run, 6 Ks, a 2.25 ERA, and 0.75 whip. So right here, I know his last 3 outings have been versus Pittsburgh here for Lawlor, but like I mentioned, he's been a pretty safe pitcher. I know he's not going to give you much in quality starts and wins, but everything else, he's definitely helping out. And if you need a cheap option that's widely available on the wire, like I mentioned, in 76% of fantasy leagues, he's definitely worth an add this week as well. The next pitcher is Joe Barlow of the Texas Rangers. So obviously the Rangers, they traded a few guys away at the Major League trade deadline, including their closer Ian Kennedy. And right now, it looks like Joe Barlow is the man over there at closer here for the Texas Rangers. On the season, not much from him though. 14 2/3, 2 saves, 5 hits, 1 run, 7 walks, 18 strikeouts, an 0.61 ERA, and an 0.82 whip. So the last couple weeks for him: 6 innings, 2 saves, 3 hits, 3 walks, 6 Ks, a 1 whip. So right here, Barlow, he's getting an opportunity. I know this Ranger team isn't that good, but right now, Barlow, if you need closer help, why not here? I usually like to keep 2 closers on my roster, and if you got a couple injuries at the position or guys who've been getting bombed of late, like Liam Hendricks, he hasn't been pitching well, Matt Barnes hasn't been pitching well, so if you want to replace one of those guys on your roster, I think Barlow's a decent add, and he's a young guy that throws hard, and he's also available in 84% of fantasy leagues. Obviously, he's not going to get many opportunities, but so far he's been a safe get on fantasy rosters for the closer position so far. So I would definitely give him an add. And the final pitcher I've looked to add this week's Michael Gibbons of the Cincinnati Reds. So Gibbons here, he's been into the closer role after it's been a merry-go-round the whole season here for the Reds. I believe they've been using 4 or 5 guys to try to close out games for them this season. But right now, Michael Gibbons looks like the guy, for now at least, here. So Michael Gibbons, they traded for him at the trade deadline here, was the Reds. And so far, he's been pitching well. 38 innings on the season, 3-2 record, 3 saves, 27 hits, 9 runs, 5 homers, 19 walks, 42 strikeouts, a 2.13 ERA, and a 1.12 whip on the season. Last couple weeks for him: 5 1/3, 3 saves, a hit, no runs, 4 walks, 4 Ks, 0.94 whip. So right now they got high confidence here in Gibbons, and he hasn't given up any runs like I mentioned. And this Cincinnati Red team, they're a pretty solid team this season, especially with the reemergence of Joey Votto and Jonathan India, the rookie, really leading this team to try to make a playoff push in the next few weeks here before the playoffs. So right here, Gibbons, he's going to have opportunities. And like I've mentioned before in other videos, this NL Central isn't the greatest of divisions. I know the Cardinals, they're starting to get better a little and starting to get a couple guys back in the lineup. We know the Reds, they've been playing good baseball. The Cubs, they're a total mess. The Pirates, obviously, they're a rebuilding team as well. And also you got the Brewers in the division. But right here, the Reds, they're definitely in the thick of things here. And there could be a lot of opportunities for Gibbons to get saves in the next few weeks before the regular season ends. And he's another closer that's surprising to me here, that he's available in 77% of fantasy leagues. So that's a few pitches I looked at on the waiver wire here in week 19 of the fantasy baseball season.